Salut à tous, je suis Philippe May de Verbier en Suisse et je vous accueille sur le Ohio RAAM Show.
Hi, I'm Tracy May, and I'm originally from New York, but now living with Philippe in Verbier, Switzerland, and we are here with the Ohio RAAM Show.
Thank you, Philippe and Tracy May from Switzerland. We will be having you on the next Ohio RAAM show on the 17th of December, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you then. And that show will be both in French and English. Or actually, it's going to be two shows, one in English and one in French. And this is the Ohio RAAM show, a show about cycling and ultracycling. It comes to you, about 3 times a month. And I'm Lee Kreider, your host, and this is show number 172. And the show is a product of time stations 41 and 42 in Oxford, Ohio, and Blanchester, Ohio, time stations on the Race Across America. And you'll hear more about them as we get closer to the Race Across America in June. Now, one of the delights of the Ohio RAAM show is to introduce to you new faces and new names, and we're having that tonight with Julie Tracy. But Tracy comes from Boston, Massachusetts. She is new to ultracycling. Wow, is she ever new? And you'll hear that story in the show. And so we also want to make sure you check the show notes. If you're watching the show on ohioramshow.com, you'll see it right below the video. If not, please go there and check out those show notes about Tracy and some other information there as well. We're happy to announce that Tracy is a member of the Team Phenomenal Hope. And with that said, we're going to go on to Boston, Massachusetts and visit with Julia Tracy. So how are you doing there, Julia? I believe you're in Boston, are you?
I am in Boston. Yep, Boston, Massachusetts.
I just met you last weekend.
Yep.
Over in Dublin, Ohio. For the Ohio RAAM Challenge. You did the 200 there. We'll talk more about that. And I haven't had a chance really to get very well acquainted with you. And I think one of the joys I have in this show is finding people like you and let you bubble up and introduce the world of ultracycling to people.
Sure.
Like yourself. You didn't bubble up. You exploded. So we'll get into that. Tell me a little about yourself, Julie. Who are you? What do you do?
Well, I was born in Kansas, grew up in Ohio, lived in California for 9 years. Went to undergrad school at UC Davis, go Aggies. And then I came out to Boston for graduate school in clinical exercise physiology. And then I got a job here in Boston, and I'm an exercise physiologist at a hospital nearby at Brigham and Women's Hospital. So I've been all over. Sort of.
Yeah. You're breaking up just a little, and we're not going to worry about that, but that was Brigham Women's Hospital, is that correct?
Yep, Brigham and Women's Hospital.
Kind of practice do you have with exercise physiology? You work with any particular kinds of cases or everything in general?
We particularly work with a lot of shortness of breath, so people who are short of breath and they have no idea why. We also work with a lot of pulmonary hypertension patients. We work with some heart failure patients, kind of a wide range of some muscle issues, some neurology type patients as well. So it's a wide range of ages and a wide range of patients as well.
Well, you sort of explained to me a halfway answer to the question I'm going to ask you a little later in the show. But so I noticed you have quite a background in cycling. Go over some of the things that you have been involved in before you touched into the world of ultracycling.
Sure. So I grew up as a swimmer. I started at 6 years old and competitively swam. And then I went to college and swam there 2 years. And when I quit swimming, I kind of filled my, competitive exercise love for triathlons. So I did triathlons for a little bit. I moved to Boston and joined the triathlon club team at my graduate school. And then I decided that running kind of hurt too much, and I joined a cycling team. And then here I am. So I do a lot of cycling races, and then I joined Team Phenomenal Hope this year. So
Now, I understand you've done both stage races and you've done some off-road as well.
yeah, I do. Well, right now is cyclocross season, and I don't know if anyone knows what cyclocross is, but it's a huge racing in New England, especially. It's on-road, off-road. It's a kind of like about a mile or so closed course. A lot of spectating. You get off your bike, you jump over barriers. You have to run. You have to pedal through mud sometimes. So that's kind of the off-road stuff, I guess you can say I've done. And then mostly I do road racing. I'm not so much a mountain biker, although I do have a mountain bike. It's been in the basement for 2.5 years, untouched, unfortunately. I do a lot of road racing, which criteriums. So criteriums are, you're kind of in circles essentially, and you do it for about 45 minutes or so. And then road races are a little bit longer. Those can be anywhere from 40 miles to 60, 70 miles. And then a little bit of stage racing too. So 2 or 3 days of all of the above.
So you come over to Dublin. What drew you to Dublin, Ohio, and the ultracycling, which is a new sport for you?
Yeah. So I joined Team Phenomenal Hope because I kept hearing about it, because I've been working with pulmonary hypertension patients a lot more so the last 3 years I've been at Brigham Women's. And, I had somebody mention it to me, oh, you would be, a good fit for this. Oh, you should look into this. And then eventually I finally looked into it, and I saw kind of what everyone was doing, and it looked pretty neat. And I felt like I should be, a part of it as well. And I also didn't know what event I should do, because I'm on a bike racing team. So I actually race a lot. So for the charity, I wanted to do something new, something I've never done before. And I believe it was Patty who did the Ohio RAAM. And I think I read her race report, and I was like, this sounds really cool, and something I've not even close to, I've done 100 miles maybe. So I signed up, and I grew up in Dublin. So I thought it was a perfect fit. I got to see my parents and got to kind of revisit, where I grew up and where I learned to swim and everything. So here I am.
Well, I think Patty, you're referring to Patty George, or sometimes we call her Dr. George when we're in an official mood, was there
I've never actually met her.
2 or 3 years ago. Well, you've got a real treat in store, let me say that. She's a very special person.
I will someday, I think.
And so you show up at Dublin, I meet you there, and I ask you the question, have you ever done 200 miles before? And you seemed a little, how should you say, uncertain about 200 miles math.
Well, I did, I did a lot of training this summer, and I did about 4 100 milers, and then I did 120, and everyone's like, well, if you can do 120, you can do 200, right? And I'm like, sure.
I think you did sort of okay, didn't you?
Yeah. And you know what? It went a lot better than I thought it would. I didn't really know what to expect. I kind of stuck to a plan, and I can't complain. The only thing is my Garmin ran out of battery. That was the only bad thing.
Being modest, as many ultracyclists or people like yourself are, let's see if I'm not correct. You came in, I believe, 2nd overall, did you not?
2nd overall, yep.
And I believe you set a course record for women, isn't that true?
Yep, 11 minutes.
Very
so I guess
good.
It went okay.
I think that was very okay for your very first outing. So what do you think of ultracycling?
It's kind of a whole new world. The training was very different. Like, you really had to just do miles. And I did a lot of, practicing eating and hydrating, because, sometimes I'm not that good at drinking during long rides or races. So I did a lot of practicing. I did a few 100 milers by myself, because I knew that there was going to be a lot of, alone time, because in races you have friends, and normal bike racing that I'm used to.
Yeah.
You have a bunch of people next to you. So this, I knew that it would be a long ways, by myself.
Now, I hadn't read the rules this year ahead of time, so I was sort of surprised or taken aback, I might say. You had a mass start this year.
Yeah, so they changed the rules like 3 weeks before the race, maybe, or sometime before, because I was supposed to have a support vehicle because I didn't really exactly trust. I never used navigation on my Garmin, so I was like, oh, I don't really know how to, figure that out. And, oh, if I have somebody, it'll be fine. They can just kind of help me navigate. And, if I have a flat tire, I can just change a wheel. No big deal. And then they changed it, and I kind of, realized I had to kind of change my plan a little bit and maybe figure out how to upload, the route. And I kind of quickly did all that. I mean, I spent years of the actual 200 miler panicking because my navigation wasn't working.
Yeah, I
So
heard about.
that's how, I wasn't, I guess, super prepared, but I eventually figured it out, but it worked out.
Yeah, well, it certainly did.
I was lucky.
And of course, this year, the 200 milers were unsupported.
Yeah, so they were unsupported, and then they changed so you were able to draft. So that was one big difference. The drafting only came in handy the first 46 miles until the first aid station, and then it was pretty much by yourself.
It all kind of fell apart
But
after that.
I just kind of hid behind a really tall guy and let them kind of do whatever they wanted. Because I had a feeling it was going to be flat-ish kind of at the beginning and then pretty hilly in the middle. And I like hills. So I just kind of rested my legs and ate and hydrated the first 2.5 hours and didn't do a whole lot of work. And I'm used to that. So because of bike racing. So drafting is not something that is, scares me. I'm used to. I train with my fiance Kyle a lot. So I sit on his wheel all the time and he goes pretty fast. So I just try to keep up. So I wasn't afraid of sitting on people's wheels at the very least. So.
Well,
but that is something new from last year, I know. After
that, do you think you're ready to try a longer distance?
I never considered it until I had a few people ask me that, and I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I like to sleep, so I'm not sure if the overnight thing will be that great for me. But I mean, who knows? I haven't really. You always start planning kind of way ahead of time for 2018. So I'm starting to think, but I've already, mentioned to Patty that I'm interested in kind of seeing what the team's doing. So we'll see. We'll see what 2018 brings. Who knows?
Well, of course, the alternate to that is to join a team. And so you do get the catnaps that way. Yeah,
I think I might be better with a team than by myself for one of the longer ones. Yeah, I like my sleep and normal eating. You can only stomach kind of food like that for so long. I imagine it takes some practice.
Yeah, well, as I said, I like to find people who kind of new on the scene. And like I said, you didn't bubble, you just kind of exploded. And we're very happy to see you, and we hope we see a lot more of you. Now, let's talk a little bit about Team Phenomenal Hope. We've had Patty, we've had team members on the show a number of times. You don't know this maybe, Julie, but one of the efforts of this show is to promote various charities. And last year, Race Across America had a phenomenal year as far as fundraising for charities go. Tell us a little bit about, well, if people might have heard of pulmonary hypertension and what the Team Phenomenal Hope's all about.
So Team Phenomenal Hope, it's about raising awareness because the pulmonary hypertension is not something that, a lot of people know about, or, it's super rare. And at our hospital, we see a lot of it. So to me, it's not rare, but to the rest of the world, what is pulmonary hypertension? So that's kind of, I think, a big one. And then also raising the money because there's no current cure for pulmonary hypertension. There is a lot of and there's been a lot of drug trials, so there's a lot more treatment now for it, so it can slow, the progression, but there's no actual cure. So there's, and our hospital is a huge research hospital. So, raising those funds, it does take, a lot of money to do these trials and to, find new medications for patients. So that's another thing. So raising the money for, helping to find the cure. And hopefully, someday there will be one. It'll be a little bit different. But I've noticed, patients, even with the treatments that have come from these clinical trials, are doing a lot better. They live a lot more normal lives than I think they used to. It used to be kind of, you Google this and it's like pulmonary hypertension, bad. Like, you don't want this, you're going to die. But now it's like, no, you can live a normal life once you find the right treatment and get the right care. And so it's very different now. We even do exercise prescription for pulmonary hypertension patients now, because the treatment is just doing, helping them so much that it's actually good for them to exercise versus telling them not to a long time ago.
Well, it's interesting because I'd never heard of pulmonary hypertension until I met Patty, or Team Phenomenal Hope, had him on the show. But I mentioned this to my pulmonologist, and he said, I had a fellowship in which we did trials on a drug. Before that, we had absolutely nothing we could offer these people except to try to some palliative treatment.
Yeah, or like a lung transplant, I think, was the original treatment, too.
You raise funds for research in pulmonary hypertension through your team, do you not?
Yes, so I have my own webpage, but there's kind of a link to the team's webpage, too. So everyone's kind of making the effort for raising money for the same thing.
Well, for those of you watching the show, if you would like to make a donation, at the show notes, which is right below the video here, if you're watching on OhioRAAMshow.com, will take you to Julie's crowdfunding site, along with links to her Facebook page, and also a link to Team Phenomenal Hope, so you can help with that there if you would like to, and I would highly encourage that.
So even just checking out the website, so you don't necessarily have to donate if you don't want to. Just the Team Phenomenal Hope has an awesome webpage, and links to learning more about the disease and possibly other things that you can do to help and spread awareness and everything. And
I get their newsletter. I think there may be a place on there you can sign up for that. They always have a story about somebody who has dealt with the disease, and some very remarkable stories of people dealing with it.
Yeah, they have a neat program called Let Me Be Your Lungs. So the racers are able to either be matched with a person with pulmonary hypertension or somebody they know in particular, or somebody they don't know. And so you can race kind of in honor of somebody. And I actually raced for a young lady that goes to the Brigham and Women's Hospital, who actually really enjoys riding bikes. So it was a really good fit. Good. And she was pretty excited and very supportive throughout the whole thing. So that was kind of fun too. Kind of hits closer to home.
Julie, we want to thank you for taking time out to be on the show here. We had just a wee bit of trouble getting connected, but we did manage it. I have 100% success so far.
Even with my bad computer problems.
Yeah, well, computers are computers. So thank you very much for being with us. And we
You're
wish
very
you
welcome.
I hope we see you out there here and there. And I'm looking for your name on leaderboards from time to time.
Well, the community, you guys have like a small kind of niche community, and it's been fun to kind of try something new, and everyone's been extremely nice. So hopefully
let me tell you
out.
something in case you haven't figured it out yet. The ultracycling community is, as you said, very small compared to other sports, but it is worldwide. And if you're around very long, you'll find you're going to make friends all over the world. If you don't want to be involved, I would say run now, quick.
Well, and it doesn't, help that the event did such a good job of putting it on. I mean, they're so friendly, and it was pretty easy. Everything seemed pretty easy considering how big long of a race it was. They even were going to go looking for me when I, started going backwards on the tracking.
Thanks so much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Julie, for taking time to be with us. Thank you for your participation in Team Phenomenal Hope, and we wish you good luck in your cycling and in your life as well. And thank you once again for your support. We thank all of you who support us in the social media by giving us likes and shares and comments and retweets. All that helps the show to become better known. And of course, the object of that is to help the sport of ultracycling become better known, and you are making that happen. Thank you. Again, be sure to check the show notes for more about Julie. Now, a lot of you find out about the show by seeing my personal Facebook page. That is a personal page, and I do put a lot of other stuff up there, which you probably aren't interested. So in the show notes, you will find a link to the Ohio RAAM Show Facebook page, and the only thing you're going to find there is information about the Ohio RAAM Show, as well as other things I find in the media and the newspapers on ultracycling events. Why not subscribe there? And if you want to unfollow me on my personal page, that's fine. Won't hurt me a little bit. I understand. Now, as I said at the beginning of the show, our next show is going to be December 17th with Tracy May and Philippe May from Switzerland. Those of you who might remember, a few years ago, Philippe was ready to start in the Race Across America, and as he arrived here by plane, he felt something wrong, wound up in the hospital, had a heart surgery of one kind or another. They'll explain that to you. We're very happy to have Philippe back with us and his beautiful wife, Tracy. And as I said, are going to be 2 shows, one in French and one in English. We'll see you in another 10 days. Goodbye.
Music by Kevin MacLeod.